corrections. I keep saying there's three big food producers, and when you go into a grocery store, almost any food you buy is actually owned and the money goes to one of these three big food producers. So you might think you're buying from 10 different companies because there's 10 different labels, but really it's one of five big food producers and only one of three meat producers. And then it's just broken up into many different labels, many different small companies, but the money all goes to the same spot. It's all been consolidated so that they can control our government. And it was more to it than that. But I wanted to do a corrections. There are five big companies that 99% of the food you see in the grocery store, the money goes to. If you're buying meat, there are three big meat companies that make up 99% of the meat you see on the grocery store shelves. And that's the corrections. There's actually five big companies that 99% of your food comes from. Now, these numbers might be a little off, but it's the point that counts. I'm thinking you actually get the point. As long as you're not like one of these people that pick one word out and miss the point just because they want to tear somebody apart or they're just judgmental, or they don't fucking care. Those type of people are what we call Karens. They miss the point on purpose just so they can feel better than other people. It's actually a mental condition. A lot of people don't realize that they have this mental condition, but it's very common where people want to feel better about themselves, feel like they have no problems, so they try to make problems up with words or different types of things. Like if they're an alcoholic and they drink martinis or wine every night, or maybe they're a beer drinker that drinks a 48 pack of beer every 2 days, those people will be judgmental about the pot smokers or the dope heads or the coke heads. Oh my god, I can't stand the freaking coke heads. Oh my god, coke, stimulants, meth, I don't understand them at all. They'll go through $300 in a night and then they'll be trying to hook and sell their bodies for more. I mean, I have high school girls that I went to high school with. They were never like my real friends or anything, but I graduated middle school with a Gabby and a Katie, and there was also a high school person, Jasmine, and they're all over Massachusetts, and they all ended up Lowell hooking because Big Pharma destroyed them, and they all came from orphanages, foster care, or adoptions. And then they all ended up hookers with mental disorders, not knowing what to do about all this treatment they got. It's quite common in Massachusetts where these orphans or these immigrants will get into the medical system, big pharma system, at age 5, 6, 7. By the time they're 12, they're on massive amounts of drugs and they're going in and out of institutions. They're being held down on the ground, injected. They're being given all these crazy ideas about you have this disease and you have this disease and you need to take all these pills. And then by the time they're age 18, they're on so many drugs, and none of them want anything to do with drugs. Like a Jasmine I knew, she wouldn't even smoke pot or cigarettes. She wouldn't touch any substances. Then she got in a fist fight with her brother where her brother was picking on her. She was 100 pounds soaking wet. And her younger brother, who's 2 years younger than her, is this big, bulky guy you would think was 20, while she's 18. And he could have annihilated her, but somehow, because she's the foster kid, she got to be sent to a medical institution. They drug the shit out of her. She comes back with no soul. She literally is staring in the space. She has no emotions. She seems depressed. And they're giving her massive amounts of antidepressants and antipsychotics. She looked sicker than ever when she came back from that hospital. She went into that hospital a normal person that didn't like to be picked on or hit. She came out of the hospital all fucked up in the head. Then, about 2 to 3 years later, she gets put onto the streets. She's getting hurt by exposure. The shelters are telling her that they don't know how to help her. Big Pharma's giving her massive amounts of drugs. So, what do you think happens to her? She starts using drugs and prostituting. It never needed to happen. They could have just left her alone. They could leave these kids alone, and we wouldn't have all these people with psychiatric conditions. But just like how there's a thing called medical induced schizophrenia, what clearly says it's not a form of schizophrenia. What it is if you give somebody schizophrenic medication, they start exhibiting symptoms of schizophrenia. And then they accidentally get diagnosed with schizophrenia and they give them more medication. What makes them look more schizophrenic, so they give them more medication. Then they look more schizophrenic, so they give them more medication. Then they look more schizophrenic, then they give them more medication. Then they go on vacation and they run out of meds, and all of a sudden they're cured. And they say, why the hell did I all of a sudden get cured? I did nothing but, oh, that's right. I stopped taking the big pharmaceuticals pill. I mean, it almost reminds me of 1984, where the government wants to try to control a certain population, but what it really is a scam. Think about it for a second. These kids are in foster care. They're little kids who can't have no parents, nobody protecting them. Big Pharma comes around with some psychiatrists and they start drugging them. These kids then go on what? State insurance, tax-paid insurance. Then the doctors start draining the taxpayers for extra money. These people have more children, get their children taken away by the government. Then those kids get drugged silly. Then they go on state insurance. The doctors start making extra money out of the taxpayers. And once again, they bill the taxpayers to take these children away from these parents. Then they drug these kids silly. And before we know it, we have Columbine. We have guys going into Walmart. We have kids committing suicide. We have 16-year-olds committing suicide. And then Big Pharma says, oh, they had depression. No. It wasn't the medicine that did it to them. It's a psychiatric condition. Yeah, but he was on antidepressants and antipsychotics and he still killed himself. Yeah, he was really mentally ill. Well, how about you stop drugging them for a while and see what happens first? Maybe you shouldn't be blaming anything on something you can't prove. Because having a man with a 4-year degree in psychology writing a piece of paper isn't proof. Especially if you have crazy-ass mothers and fathers like mine who are making up stories about swimming medals and swimming injuries. Like when I jumped in a pool, I caught the back of my foot, all of a sudden I'm suicidal. My swimming medal means I have attachment disorder. I mean, I won the swimming medal in the orphanage, but apparently, according to my mother, me winning a swimming medal in the orphanage when they brought me to the YMCA, and then me trying to show the swimming medal to my mother, means I'm out to get her. I have attachment disorder. I need to be on massive amounts of drugs. I'm a storyteller, and I'm out to get her or stuff like that. And what does the psychiatrist do? Here, foster mother, here's some pills to give your child. And then what happens? The child gets an overdose because the mother's messing around with those pills. Here's some more pills. Here's some more pills. Here's some more pills. Here's some more pills. Does anybody see the problem in this?